Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again from Film Fanatic headquarters. It is Monday at 9:15, pretty early. Beautifully hot summer day already. It's been ever since Saturday, which was the official start to summer. It's been super toasty. It's been amazing. Beautiful weather, the best feeling. I'm a hot weather person through and through. And had my first official ice cream yesterday, so it was really great and super fun. We had a really fun quantum show on Saturday that kind of kicked off. That was part of the summer solstice, and that was really fun. It was a really cool experiment. I just finished recording a video. I'm going to probably upload it at some point pretty soon here on how we put together the show, and I'm going to probably do. It was a lot of fun, and I think we're going to do another one in. I'm going to try to do another one at least, in August sometime. So so pretty cool, pretty fun. Things have been pretty busy here on the quantum front. We just had we had the show this past weekend for the summer solstice, and then this week we have a couple more quantum shows. On Friday, we're going to be playing at the Poor Farm in Union, which is an awesome venue. Been fortunate enough over the years to play there a lot, and we've played. Quantum's played at the Poor Farm. Um, I'd say at least four times or so. That's been a really great spot for us, and we've had some really great gigs. One of the most memorable gigs I remember that we had for Quantum was, it was during COVID, and for billions of other bands, there were no gigs, there were no venues, everything was closed down, and for about a year and a half to almost 2 years, I didn't do any Quantum shows because of it. It was well over a year, and in that time, it was a very tough time, but I managed to write a pretty decent amount of material. And I remember my great friend Tom Luther, who I have had just real long deep relationship with him. He's an amazing musician. Primarily, he's a piano player, but we did. And he had a few bands back quite a few years ago, various different groups. He had a couple of different jazz groups. He had an electronic group, Algorithm, which we actually probably almost 9, 10 years ago we played a show with them. We played one or two shows with them. But and then after that, the that band kind of dismantled, and we worked together in a couple of different jazz groups. And he's a brilliant guy, brilliant composer, and all kinds of stuff. And I remember after there was all this time that went by, I think it might have been. I think it was actually our first time that we played at the Poor Farm. Yeah, I think it was. I think it was actually our first time that we played a gig with Quantum at the Poor Farm, because I had played there before COVID hit. I played there a few other times with a few different groups. Electric Bonfire, one of the bands that I was playing in, we played there a couple times. And I know I played there with Simplexity, which was another band I used to play in. And that band has long been dead, thankfully. And so I had played there a handful of times, I guess, before that. But when COVID came, obviously, everything stopped. So, and I was looking to try to get, Quantum back off the ground. I mean, it was still, we never broke up as a band, but we just took a break for the obvious reasons. So, and I think it was a show. Yeah, it was a show that Tom Luther had put together. he had this really cool music festival that he put together, and it was like a 2 day electronic music festival, and it was like on a Friday and a Saturday, and it was really cool. Like he had the music and the bands that he had for this festival were kind of more on the experimental side, but it was all electronica kind of music. And he booked us on, I think, the Saturday of the festival, the second day, and we played. And I remember that day. I don't know. It was a few years ago now, but I remember like it was yesterday. And it was our first gig back to our first live gig in a really long time. And I remember we played inside, and that was like our first kind of gig back. And so it was a very emotional time to be back to be playing music, because it was a long time coming, and it was a heavy experience, but it was a really great feeling to be coming back and playing this weird music that I call quantum. And so that was our first gig back, and since then we played there a handful of other times. So we'll be there, and we've played a couple of shows with Tom uh, at the Poor Farm before. And but this coming Friday we're going to be playing just us, and we're going to be starting about 5 or 5:30. If it rains, we'll be inside. If it's nice, we'll be out in the deck. It's a free show. Poor Farm's awesome. They make amazing beer. I think for me, as a beer drinker, I think they make the best microbrewed beer around, and it's an amazing location. Really great spot. So come on by to that. And then on Saturday we have kind of a private party, but it is a little bit open to the public. But it's on the island. We're going to be playing at this big kind of memorial service slash party on Islesboro. Uh, so that'll be an adventure. I have a couple other gigs that day, and it's going to be definitely our first time as Quantum playing like on one of the islands. So that'll be fun. That'll be an adventure. We'll have to stay overnight, which is not great, but it should be fun. So anyway, today's show is on a movie that I realized I had never covered, and I actually hadn't watched it in a really, really long time. And I'm a huge Lance Henriksen fan. He's uh, he's been such a kind of an icon. I mean, in the world of horror, especially, my favorite Lance Henriksen movie is Pumpkinhead, which is a great, monster kind of low budget exploitation movie that was directed by Stan Winston, who is one of the legends when it comes to horror effects, practical effects, but then also you know um, creature design. He's done so many amazing films and has worked on so many great horror films, particularly around monster movies. And he actually directed Pumpkinhead, which came out quite a few years ago. And that movie is I love that movie to death. And I watched it again the other night. I got a really amazing Blu-ray edition of that last year, and I watched it again last night. It was so great. So then after that, I was like, and Lance Henriksen too is famous for his work in the Alien films as well. I mean, so many great movies. But I've always loved Lance Henriksen. He's just got such great presence, and he's been in so many great movies. But after I watched Pumpkinhead, I realized, wait, I need to watch this other movie because I haven't seen it in so long, and it's directed by the iconic one of the masters of horror as far as directors. But there's this movie, The Pit and the Pendulum. I never reviewed this movie on this channel, and Stuart Gordon's one of the he's the man. I mean, he's one of the greatest horror directors. Most noted, he's most well known for Reanimator, which I'm gonna do a show on because I realized I haven't done a show on the channel on on the Film Fanatic YouTube channel. I haven't reviewed that movie. I did do a way back when when I started to, experiment and dabble and get into making video content, I did a show on the Pit and the Pendulum, I believe, back then. Oh no, actually, no, no, no. I take that back. I actually did a show on Reanimator, and that was back when I was doing Facebook Live videos. I did that for about, I think I did that for about a year to 2 years on Facebook. I did these Facebook Live videos, and that was kind of my first go at it as far as making video content. And I know I did a show on, and that was through Facebook. I know I did a big show on Reanimator back then, but I haven't done a show on my YouTube channel. And that movie, I mean, it's a masterpiece. It's one of the greatest horror movies of all time. It's got some of the most incredible practical effects. It's yeah, it's a masterpiece. But Stuart Gordon as a director, he's probably most well known for that film. I mean, that's definitely his. I would say easily his best work. Um, but he's done some amazing films. Another film of his is Dagon, which is another incredible movie. That's one of my favorite Stuart Gordon films as well. And From Beyond, which is another one that is just another masterpiece. And The Pit and the Pendulum is another film that he did, which is a little bit more, um, isn't really talked about as much. Obviously, in comparison to From Beyond and Reanimator, which, amazing. And I don't believe this is the first Stuart Gordon movie that I've covered on this channel as far as the YouTube channel. So I need to get on it because I love his movies and he's one of my favorite horror directors. And a lot of his films, I mean, he's really well known for his um, practical effects. This was like his second adaptation of an Edgar Allan Poe story, who was, who is one of my favorite writers in the world of horror and science fiction, mainly horror. He Stuart Gordon did. Well, Dagon is also based on a I believe. Well, it's actually, I should say, a Lovecraft, H.P. Lovecraft story. So this is like, I think this is actually the only adaptation of a Poe story that he's done. The Pit and the Pendulum was, there is an earlier version that came out in the I think it was 1961, that was directed by Roger Corman, which is another masterpiece. But The Pit and the Pendulum is a Stuart Gordon version, and it's amazing. It's so campy. It's super low budget. I definitely consider Stuart Gordon's films to be in the world of exploitation, the cult exploitation. He's got a certain quality. A lot of his movies are, which is kind of mind blowing, because the production value in his films is just staggering. But for the most part, I mean, he was a hardcore independent filmmaker. He made things really cheaply, and they just have this real playful quality to them, even though the movies are very horrific and super gory and over the top. But I mean, he's a legend. He just passed away a few years back. I think he passed away maybe 4 or 5 years ago. But just an amazing director, one of my favorites. And when it comes to the world of horror and B movies and exploitation, I mean, I think, well, especially Reanimator, that movie set the bar so high, and it's still such an influential movie. And there was a core that was also Reanimator. Reanimator became a franchise as well, and actually all of the other films are actually really fun and pretty amazing too. But the first one's amazing. But The Pit and the Pendulum, I had not actually watched it in a very, very long time, and I have this DVD copy of it, and I can't remember where I got it, but I've had this DVD copy of this movie for a super, super long time. This was probably one of the first movies that I bought on DVD when I first got into kind of movie collecting or physical media collecting. So I've had this movie for a really long time. It would be awesome to get a upgrade of this film. It was put out by Full Moon Productions, which was a great. I think just came back as a label. The Full Moon was a label that put out a lot of really low budget kind of, you know, indie horror, B movie horror, exploitation horror films. One of the greats, especially in the 80s and 90s. Um, and it but the transfer of this movie, I mean, this DVD is actually really really good quality. It's actually really great. The picture looks great. There's some really good. There's a lot of special features on here too, which is pretty awesome. But it still would be worth getting this on a as a Blu-ray. You know, get a nice upgrade, and I'm sure that this is available. I haven't seen or come across it in my travels, but I'm sure it's definitely out there. You know, Stuart Gordon's definitely one of the more popular directors. You know, in the horror kind of genre. I don't. I feel like he's not given enough credit though. Even you know, with all of the amazing things he's done in his in his long career. But The Pit and the Pendulum came out in '91, and it stars Lance Henriksen. He's just phenomenal, and it's such a perverted little movie. It's all about the Inquisition, and about all of the horrendous things that happened, and it's based on the original story is loosely based on that, and it's just amazing. It's very it deals with a lot of sexual taboos and a lot of um, suppression, if you will, of sexual urges. It's a pretty perverse movie. Some really great kills, of course, which we all know and love and expect from a Stuart Gordon film. But it's a killer movie, and I actually had not watched it in quite some time. Um, and this was a movie. Overall, I've seen The Pit and the Pendulum a bunch of times over the years. It was one of Stuart Gordon was definitely one of the directors that I kind of grew up watching. He's definitely one of my favorite directors, and most of his films like Reanimator and From Beyond, there were Dagon. Those were movies that I kind of grew up watching on cable. They were always on syndication on a lot of these horror, midnight matinee shows that were on when I was a kid, especially Reanimator. And I remember getting a lot of his movies, renting a lot of his movies back in the day as a little kid on a VHS. Just iconic. I have a really amazing copy of Reanimator, but I have it on DVD. But it's really good, and there's so many special features on here. So I do want to watch it again and I definitely need to do coverage of all of his movies because Stuart Gordon's the man. I mean, it doesn't get any better than that. So I just wanted to do a quick show on The Pit and the Pendulum from 1991, which is hard to believe um, this movie is that old, but amazing film. And yeah, stay tuned. I think I definitely deserve to do more shows because I don't really have anything on this channel with Stuart Gordon. So thanks again, and we will see you next time. Peace.